For a long time now, corporations have been captured by left-leaning ideology. You've seen it with Bud Light and how they advertise Dylan Mulvaney. You see it with a lot of these social media platforms, how Facebook censored Republican voices in 2020. You've seen it how they've canceled Donald Trump and pretty much all their platforms after 2020. And it wasn't until later on that he actually came back onto a lot of the platforms. And now Spotify is now banning ICE recruitment ads on their platform. This is showing a level of capture that is completely different, as government ads have been run on a lot of these corporations for a while. You've seen Army ads, you've seen ICE ads, and now companies are coming out as directly opposing ICE agents. And this is direct manipulation of the public. So I think we should boycott Spotify. Boycott this, as it's been shown to work before. We boycotted Bud Light, and they lost all their all their power, and they had to retract. In fact, they eventually had on Shane Gillis and purposely an ad like trying to show that they're back to more conservative roots. And I think we should do that here. So here's what happened with the Spotify situation. A rep from Spotify confirmed that they are no longer airing recruitment ads for immigration and customs enforcement after the last campaign ended in 2025. Their update came after a left-wing organization openly complained about their ads, which were run between songs for ad-supported free subscribers. This is what happened earlier this year with Valve and Steam, and how PayPal and MasterCard and those payment processing companies were contacted by a left-wing organization to stop supporting Steam and adult games related to Steam. And this resulted in the payment processing companies banning a lot of games from Steam and Valve. And how they did that. And guess what? Valve didn't bow down. We should celebrate that. But here, Spotify did. And the only way that we can actually show our dissatisfaction with Spotify is to boycott them. And it's to delete their app and show that that people do not like corporations taking sides on divisive political issues like this. When they do this, it makes it so that they're clearly showing political bias, and it also makes me probably realize that Spotify probably shutting down and censoring a lot of Republican and more conservative songs. There's a decent chance of that, simply because of this. As if they bow down to big simple activists on banning the government, a big advertiser. Why don't you think they'll bow down to activists trying to shut down a small artist writing their songs? Spotify should be boycotted for this. They're clearly taking political sides, and we got to stop this. We got to show that this will happen if you shadow ban, shut down, and stop conservatives from expressing themselves and stop stuff like this. Additionally, if Spotify doesn't face any consequences, what will stop other left-leaning corporations like YouTube, Google, Amazon, and any other corporation that's even slightly left-wing or captured by these left-wings at the top and by their HRs from banning ICE aids or giving ICE a less favorable algorithm in terms of advertising and giving it and purposely putting ads to people that won't know it, because they always do targeted advertising in these places. So if we show that the consumers here are willing to boycott over this, boycott for companies taking sides, then it will lead to an effect that will result in less companies actually doing it, because they'll be afraid to lose consumers. So I advocate for a boycott here. There's other alternatives to Spotify. There's YouTube Music, there's Amazon Music, there's other places, Apple Music, that are different from Spotify, that are better, that haven't had this policy yet, and we have alternatives. We have plenty of alternatives. And then also, if a American company and a company that's more pro-America actually makes a music group and a music app like this, then go to that app. I don't know of any like that, but we could make maybe similar to what True Social did, build an alternative platform to what's going on from these corporations that are being clearly anti-American, anti-right, and suppressing our voices. Additionally, we should attack and protest and not physically attack, but call out the group behind this. And we should do that as much as possible. So let's continue reading the article. There are currently no ICE ads running on Spotify. A statement from the music streaming giant said, per The Guardian, the advertisements mentioned were a part of the U.S. government recruitment ad that ran across all major media platforms. Spotify's various previously addressed criticism of the ad, saying they did not violate our advertising policies. So why do they violate their advertising policies now? They do not. Nothing has changed. There have been no new ads. They haven't changed up the ads since they've said that. So why does this change it? So they're violating their own rules because of this group. This ads they're violating their own rules. So they've violating their own principles from what they previously said. So this is showing that they're bowing down. They're bending to the left. And the right should respond to that and make sure they bow down to the right and restore the availability for ads from ICE. It's obvious that we should do that. This advertisement is part of a broad campaign of U.S. governments running across television, streaming, and online channels, the company stated in a statement last October. However, users can mark any ad with the thumbs up or thumbs down to help us manage their ad preferences. So, example there. If this would actually benefit the left overall. If they don't want to see the ads, just downvote. Say you don't want to see an ad like that again. So then everyone's happy. People on the right get ads. The government's happy because it's more targeted, and then the left is happy simply because they don't see the ads anymore. It's not ruining their experience for this. If they continue to have this, it's not harming them at all because again they can just downvote. Similar ICE recruitment ads have been running on other platforms, including Hulu, HBO Max, YouTube, Pandora, since last spring. So, go to those other places. Again, I mentioned YouTube Music. Use that as an alternative to Spotify. Because that's one that's, at least, even though they might be a little bit left-wing, it's not like they're doing what Spotify's doing here and shutting down an advertising campaign from the U.S. government. We should boycott this as much as possible. A nonprofit organization, the nonprofit organization Indivisible Project was best known for organizing nationwide's No Kings protest and called for a boycott of Spotify in an open letter shared in October. Spotify is exploiting the work of artists to line their pockets while recruiting for ICE, a secret police force that's terrorizing American communities. Spotify is actively amplifying Trump's regime to drive authoritarianism, as the letter said. So, what we should call out? Call this group out. Call the Indivisible Project out. Spam them with letters. Another thing that worked with the payment processors, you could continue to call Spotify help repeatedly over and over and over and over again. Because then that ended up resulting in a lot of the payment processes walking back. It slows down the processing. That's something that we could do to stop this action by Spotify. And we should maybe just keep calling the Indivisible Project over and over and over again with calls, so it's just spammed there. That's something we could do there. Additionally, if you look at the rhetoric here from the Indivisible Project, You'll notice a secret police force terrorizing American communities. This type of rhetoric, as mentioned in previous videos, is the type of stuff that leads to what's going on, that leads to what happened to Renee Good. Because if you say they're terrorizing American communities and they're actively advocating for policies to go against the regime, like blocking ICE agents, impeding ICE agents, then that results in higher levels, that results in more conflict, higher levels of tension between groups, and more likely for a self-defense situation to happen, like what happened to Renee Good. So, they're actually amplifying this, and they're causing even more harm by doing this. So overall, it's not good for, first of all, the group itself to advocate for what's going on. Second of all, Spotify. You're, again, amplifying, you're bowing down and spreading the lies of these left-wing groups. And we need to fight this left-wing, these companies that do that. Because then they're going to end up, we need to fight back against it, or else other companies in the future will result in bowing down to left-wing groups. You see it with ICE, with the FBI, if under the Biden administration, one company is pressured, all companies are pressured, and they'll continue to bow down over and over and over again. That's how you get results where right-wing voices are consistently suppressed. So we need to protest and boycott Spotify for this. Do as much as possible. If they lose a whole bunch of viewers, guess what? They're gonna have to institute a policy, and they're gonna have to reverse this decision. So boycotts do work. You see it with what happened to Bud Light. You see it with what happened to Target. Target lost a whole bunch of stuff, and they had to walk back some of their product placements because what happened in the protest and the stuff that happened with that. That's what we need to do to stop organization like this. Protests and boycotts do work. Stop these companies from bowing down. So the organization took credit for Spotify no longer running these ads, writing in an update on Friday that months of public pressure resulted in the music streaming service no longer running ICE advertisements. Some minor musical artists were also removed from the platform in protest. That includes Australian psych rock band King Gizzard and the Lizard, Canadian group Godspeed You Black Emperor, indie band in Deerfor, and U.S. singer and songwriter Kajad Bonnet, per The Guardian. So, as I stated earlier, if they are going to start removing ICE ads, and this is from the government, a big buyer of their ads, and they're actually getting money from it, what's to stop them from removing more conservative and more conservative artists and suppressing them as much as possible? This is a major issue. We need to boycott Spotify as fast as possible, as much as possible. Because if they feel the hurt, they're going to reverse the decision. And they're actually no longer going to have these policies that actively and openly suppress right-wing singers and right-wing policies from the government. Additionally, they're still running ads for left-wing groups. I bet they'll run ads for politicians, run ads for other groups and left-wing policies. Yet the right doesn't do anything. We need to do something. This is a call to action. We need to boycott them as much as possible. Call to action, boycott. This will result in less of this happening. It will result in right-wing voices being heard more. And it will be better for political, and it will just overall be a good way. So overall, boycott. Immediate thought, boycott. Best thing possible. Anyway, tell me what you think down below in the comments. Will you actually boycott this? Tell me if you will. And thanks everyone for watching. Comment, like, subscribe, share with others, and I'll see everyone next time.